Hello folks, I was actually enjoying myself there talking about this NSV. So it's saying, continues to say, because this is the second part, the party's social welfare provisions included old age insurance, rent supplements, unemployment and disability benefits, old age homes and interest-free loans for married couples. Yes, interest-free loans for married couples, along with healthcare insurance, which was not decreed mandatory until 1941. One of the NSV's branches, the Office of Institutional and Special Welfare, was responsible for travellers' aid at railway stations, relief for ex-convicts, support for remigrants from abroad, assistance for the physically disabled, hard of hearing, deaf, mute and blind, relief for the elderly, homeless and alcoholics, and the fight against illicit drugs and epidemics. The Office of Youth Relief, which had 30,000 branch officers by 1941, took the job of supervising social workers' corrective training, mediation assistance and dealing with judicial authorities to prevent juvenile delinquency. So these things mustn't have been in place before the party took over. So one of the NSV's premier activities was the winter relief of the German people, commonly known by its abbreviated form, the Winterhilfswerk, was the annual donation drive by the National Socialist People's Welfare to help finance charitable work. Initially an emergency measure, which coordinated the annual drive to collect charity for the poor under the slogan, "None shall starve or freeze." These social programs represented a Hitlerian endeavour to lift the community above the individual while promoting the well-being of all bona fide citizens. As Hitler told a reporter in 1934, he was determined to give Germans the highest possible standard of living. Now, if you've ever looked at Hitler's art and look at the architecture that he was proposing to build in Germany, one can see that the man was of the highest caliber and no mistake. And he was, he set up this NSV. He's took it under his wing. He's took it into the party. He's expanded it massively under your man there, Erich Hilgenfeld. So during World War II, the NSV took over more and more governmental responsibilities, especially in the fields of child and youth labour. The expenses for the party's welfare state continued to mount, increasing significantly just before and after the beginning of World War II. In 3 budgetary years, the funds required by Germany's social welfare programs had more than doubled from 640.4 million Reichsmarks in 1938 to 1.395 billion Reichsmarks in 1941. And I'd just like to add, there was no inflation then, because listen to this: when you went to work on the Monday, by the time you came home from work on the Monday night, your money hadn't devalued as it had in the Weimar or as it is now. Your money value had increased. It had increased because of the contribution you'd made to the state with your work ethic, and also the guarantee that you were going to work tomorrow and the day after. So I think there was 15 million people were active workers, plus the 1 million from France who were welcomed into Germany, and the French were happy to go to Germany to work. I think there was Dutch, Polish, there was certainly English workers there, has been the custom of English workers to always be in Germany, because the conditions are high. They're higher than here. The wages are high. They're higher than here. The lifestyle is high. It's higher than here. You know, for the work that you do, the return on investment is higher. And this is one of the things that Germany has been bled dry on, is that because of National Socialism, because of the organisation of the party, you know, of how they organised the country into an unbelievable country to live in, with a great spirit among the people and a great industrial work ethic. You know, that was the with high morals as well. So no one was so liberal and lazing around, taking drugs and, you know, slacking off. The people were working towards a great Germany. So the NSV was involved in the distribution of soup to the citizens of Warsaw, and Jews were excluded from the effort, which focused on the propaganda value. After Nazi Germany's defeat in World War II, the American military government issued a special law outlawing the party and all of its branches, known as Law Number 5. This decree disbanded the NSV. Like all organisations linked to the party, the social welfare organisations had to be established anew under the post-war reconstruction of West and East Germany. So there's an article in the current German Basic Law, which is used as the Constitution, but is not the Constitution, because the article I'm going to tell you will form the Constitution when it's invoked. So it's Article 146, which states that upon the unification of Germany, there will be a referendum as to what the Constitution of Germany will be for the new Germany. Well, that's never happened. The Americans have, well, the British have only just left Germany within, was it a year ago or so? The place is still occupied. The place is still under military occupation. Germany is not a autonomous state. It has no autarky. The NSV and the party, the NSDAP, they were the autarky. So that's just the part two. As I say, there's not much more on this wiki page then, which is surprising or not surprising. National Socialist Workers War Victims Care. This language barrier is a pig. You know, modern Germans can't read Mein Kampf because of the language it was written in is not the language that's used in Germany today. In France, after the war, after the Vichy, you know, the French went to Algeria, which was France, but legally, apparently. So, but that wasn't the Vichy. That was the new France. All these little details add up. And they add up to really important details that are left out. Like small detail, like people think, oh, it was the French who done all this and that, all that in Algeria. Well, it wasn't in Algeria, where that was France. Algeria belonged to France, and it wasn't the French who had aligned with the Germans. It was the Allies of communism who'd come in and bombed France to smithereens and took control. Again, military occupation. The whole of Europe is under military occupation. That's what it is. Africa's under military occupation. There's war all over Africa. Asia is basically under military occupation by the communists. America's like the last bastion of anything that's of high moral. And, you know, they've been eaten into ridiculously so much so that the American citizen is fighting to keep the First and Second Amendments. So they're just my thoughts on socialism, National Socialism, because there's so much rhetoric against National Socialism being not socialist because it's not Marxist. Where was I looking there? Oh yeah, where is it? Socialism after Marx. By the time of Marx's death in 1883, many socialists had begun to call themselves Marxists, and that's on Britannia website. So there you go. You know, socialism got hijacked. Robert Owen, or even where is the pre-Marx socialists? Some good things on that. While Marxism had a significant impact on socialist thought, pre-Marxist thinkers have advocated socialism in forms both similar and in stark contrast to Marx and Engels. Gaius and Tiberius Gracchus, ancient Roman statesmen who advocated heavily for policies in the interest of the plebeians. These policies included land and wealth redistribution and subsidized grain to help the poor. Wasn't Hitler building the new Rome, you know, in conjunction with Mussolini? So then there are the, I don't know who the Ricardian socialists are, but there's the utopian socialists. Is a term often used to describe the first current of modern socialism and socialist thought. So there's a few, there's Robert Owen there. There was a few who had their heads chopped off. Thomas Cromwell being one of them, one of Henry VIII's Lord Chancellors. He had 4 Lord Chancellors' heads lopped off though. Right. That's just a little history lesson on socialism, National Socialism, and cronyist Marxism.